Okay, cool. I think we're good to go. So can't speak, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Lieberman, and I'm the Department Safety Coordinator for both the FST and Viticulture and Enology departments. Welcome to the Annual Safety Seminar. Today, we're going to talk about workplace safety and go over what all these acronyms on the screen mean. There's a lot of information in this presentation, so please bear with me, and I appreciate your attention and patience. So these are the main topics that we'll discuss today. We're going to discuss the Injury and Illness Prevention Plan, or the IIPP, which is filled out and provided to employees and students by the department, training designated by the UC Office of the President, hazard communication, which is the responsibility of the PI or supervisors and EH&S, the Emergency Action Plan, which is specific to and provided by the department, and proper ergonomics training and resources, which are the responsibility of the PI or supervisor and safety services. The Safety Services website contains many resources for all these topics. All right, so let's discuss some of the elements of the IIPP. So the Injury and Illness Prevention Plan, or IIPP, details management commitment and assignment of responsibilities for those maintaining and implementing the plan. It discusses various safety communication systems with employees. The IIPP outlines a system for assuring employee compliance with safe work practices, as well as scheduled inspections and evaluation systems. It also contains procedures for correcting unsafe or unhealthy conditions, safety and health training and instructions, record keeping and documentation, and accident investigation procedures. Training has been developed for most likely injuries that occur in a workplace. These include transportation injuries, slip, trips, and falls, violence by people and animals, hazardous equipment, hazardous environment, and fires and explosions. These trainings are available in the online LMS system or in the job safety analysis and the hazard communication to employees. So what causes accidents? Certain states such as rushing, frustration, fatigue, and complacency lead to errors. These errors include eyes not on the task, mind not on task, being caught in the line of fire, and loss of balance, traction, or grip. Such errors can cause less risky hazards to become more risky hazards. So let's talk about some basic safety principles. What are some of the most common hazards that we encounter in offices? Most common hazards include ergonomic issues, fire and emergency evacuation, electrical cords and equipment, heat generating sources, hand and power tools and equipment, office machines such as copiers, paper cutters, shredders, and jam machines, office chemicals, slips, trips, and falls, general housekeeping, furniture or layout of an office, and motor vehicle accidents. So now we'll talk about the job safety analysis, which deals with some of these hazards. Part of the hazard communication system is the job safety analysis, or JSA. The job safety analysis identifies and evaluates employee work functions, potential health or injury hazards, and specifies appropriate safe practices, personal protective equipment, and tools/equipment. JSAs can be completed for work sites, an individual employee's job description, or a class of employees' job descriptions. The following are examples of what a job safety analysis for staff might look like. It might include things such as handling and moving heavy equipment, operation of motor vehicles, and hazards associated with general office work. A job safety analysis will also include what training must be done, who must complete the training, and the time frame with which each training must be completed. Site-specific training is also given to laboratory or laboratory support personnel. This training details the location and proper use of safety equipment, such as personal protective equipment, fire alarms, safety outwashes and showers, spill and first aid kits, chemical fume hoods, and biological safety cabinets. It also reviews proper emergency response and ensures that the department-specific emergency action plan and injury and illness prevention plan, in addition to laboratory-specific standard operating procedures, have been read and understood. Additional safety trainings, both online and instructor-led, include injury prevention, emergency preparedness, general and equipment safety, ergonomics, and lab safety for support personnel. So let's talk about personal safety. Proper attire is required in order to enter a laboratory. Long pants or skirts must be worn. In other words, must be covered entirely from the waist down. Stockings, nylons, and leggings or jeans with holes are not acceptable. You must also wear closed-toe and heeled shoes that completely cover your feet. The LMS online training can be assigned by supervisors, administrators, and department safety coordinators. Using the LMS website, you can follow up on training that has been assigned and see what training is passed you. Safety inspectors can see what training individuals have completed and when it was completed. EH&S has multiple safety nets, including topics of personal and workplace safety, fire prevention, occupational health, emergency preparedness, campus environment, risk management services, and food safety. These can all be found on the Safety Services website referenced earlier. Hazard communication. CalOSHA requires that employers inform employees about hazards associated with hazardous chemicals that are present in the workplace. Industrial and manufacturing or commercial laboratories are subject to the requirements of Title 8 CCR Section 5194, titled Hazard Communication, and are covered under the Hazard Communication Program requirements. The UC Davis Hazard Communication Program, HAZCOM, applies to industrial workplaces, manufacturing or commercial laboratories, and activities such as animal husbandry areas, shops, custodial, craft centers, theaters, and studios. The program requires employees to maintain a hazardous chemical inventory in the UC Davis Chemical Inventory System, maintain and have access to safety data sheets, understand hazards associated with the chemicals that they work with through labeling and other forms of warning, receive safety training and other information to minimize the risks associated with the hazardous chemicals used in the work area, develop, implement, and maintain a written HAZCOM program. This can be done by following the general HAZCOM program and completing the department-specific HAZCOM program summary. An important component of hazard communication is the safety data sheet, or SDS. The SDS describes the name of the chemical, the hazardous nature of the chemical, physical characteristics, fire and explosion information, reactivity of the chemical, health hazard information such as health effects and symptoms, personal protective equipment needed when using the chemical, how to handle leaks, spills, and disposal, and any special precautions. In the SDS, you also find the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals, or GHS. This labeling system uses a signal word such as danger or warning and gives a precautionary statement indicating how to properly handle the product in order to minimize the risk to the user. Hazards of the chemicals are associated with an H code. H200s are physical hazards, H300s are health hazards, and H400s are environmental hazards. The lower the number within a category, the higher the hazard. So H300 is more hazardous than H304. These hazard codes are also associated with hazard symbols. You'll see these symbols on the chemical bottles. Each symbol depicts a hazard associated with the chemical. So here's an example of an SDS. Each section describes the information discussed in the previous slide. So by looking at this SDS, we can tell that WD-40 is flammable, a health hazard, pressurized, and has the additional health effect of causing drowsiness or dizziness. If you read further on the SDS, it will tell you how to safely handle, store, and dispose of this chemical. So it's important to review the SDS sheet before you handle any chemicals that you're dealing with in the office or anywhere. Many chemicals require standard operating procedures, or SOPs. CalOSHA requires the use of SOPs for work with hazardous chemicals. SOPs document the specific procedures for safe handling, storage, and disposal of hazardous chemicals. PIs and supervisors are responsible for establishing SOPs relevant to health and safety for activities involving hazardous chemicals under their direction. So let's discuss emergency preparedness. In addition to resources for laboratory safety, Safety Services also has resources for personal safety. Some of these resources are the campus emergency notification system called WARMI. Make sure you are signed up for WARMI to receive notifications and updates about emergencies happening on campus and in Davis. The Everbridge app is a personal safety app that can be used to quickly make emergency phone calls, set up emergency contacts, or to report suspicious activity. You can find a link to this on the Safety Services website, but I think you can also download it from any app store that you have on your phone, whether it be an Apple or Android. So next we will discuss the Emergency Action Plan, or the EAP. The EAP must be in writing and include the following elements: emergency escape procedures and emergency escape route assignments, procedures to account for all employees after an emergency evacuation, the preferred means of reporting fires and other emergencies, names or regular job titles of persons or departments who can be contacted for further information or explanation of duties under the plan, a system to notify employees of an emergency, procedures for employees who remain to complete critical operations before they evacuate, rescue and medical duties for those employees who are to perform them, and training for all employees on the EAP. The written plan must be kept in the workplace and made available for employees to review. You should also be aware of the location of all the exits for your workplace and building, the alarm pull boxes and fire extinguishers, the nearest phone, safety showers and eye washes, first aid kits, and spill kits. These are covered during the site-specific training. Also, if you need assistance in the event of an evacuation to safely exit the building, please contact me so we can set up training for emergency evacuation. Sorry, I sent out an email about this earlier this week, so if anybody needs to contact me, go ahead and shoot me an email, and we can discuss later. So here's the evacuation map for the first floor of RMI South. This map details the location of all the fire alarms, fire extinguishers, and exits. Here's the same map for the first floor of RMI North. Being familiar with these maps will help you be more prepared in the event of an emergency. During a building evacuation, personnel in the building must meet at a designated location. For viticulture, the meeting area is to the left-hand side of the parking garage if you're facing the parking garage, and for food science and technology, the meeting area is to the right. Do not leave during an evacuation. Personnel must check in with their supervisors or department safety coordinators so that someone knows they have safely evacuated the building. In the event of a fire, follow these procedures. If the fire is small, you may attempt to neutralize the threat without endangering yourself. If you are unsure, leave the area, being sure others are out. Close the door, activate the nearest building fire alarm, dial 911 from a landline or 530-752-1230 from a cell phone. Stay away from the area and close the door. Go to the agreed meeting place and stand by to advise emergency personnel when they arrive. So let's talk about fire extinguishers. There are 5 different types of fire extinguishers. Class A, which is for ordinary combustibles, wood, paper, and other things like trash. Class B, which is for flammable and combustible materials. Class C, which is for electrical fires. Class D, which are for special metals. And Class K, which are for kitchen fires. All the buildings in the RMI complex are suited with combinations of classes A, B, and C. They emit a powder that suffocates the fire and need to be checked monthly in order to ensure effectiveness. So as I said, these need to be checked monthly. So how do you check the fire extinguishers? So to check the fire extinguishers, you look at the gauge that's, there's a picture of here, and make sure that the needle is within the green range. Look at the needle as if you're looking at a meniscus of liquid. Once you have checked it, put the date and the initials of the person checking on the green tag. And if there are any issues, you can contact Fire Prevention Services at fireprevention@ucdavis.edu. So how to use a fire extinguisher. The acronym PASS is a quick, easy way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher. Pull the pin, taking care not to squeeze the handle. Aim at the base of the fire and stand back 5 to 6 feet. Squeeze the handle and move carefully closer as the powder is being discharged, and sweep back and forth to cover the range of the fire. This should only be done if the fire is at the beginning stage. If flames are large, evacuate, and 911 should have already been notified when the fire began. Keep in mind, a fire extinguisher will only last 20 to 30 seconds. So I have a link to a great video on how to properly use fire extinguishers. For sake of time, I will not play it now, but if anybody is interested, I will post these slides up with the links and you can go and watch the video. It's actually pretty interesting. In the event of an earthquake, follow these procedures. Get under a desk, table, or archway during the shaking. Leave the building after the shaking is over. If you're outside during the shaking, stay clear of buildings, trees, or other structures. Dial 911 or 530-752-1230 from a cell phone to report any fires, ruptured pipes, or downed electric lines. Assist injured persons in securing medical attention. Go to the agreed meeting place and stand by to advise emergency personnel when they arrive. In the event of an active shooter, there are 3 immediate actions: run, hide, and fight. If you can't run, hide, and if you can't hide, fight. During this type of emergency, seek help. Call 911 and provide as much information as possible, such as location, what is happening, description of the suspect, and your name and phone number. Silence your phone, but if you can't speak, turn the sound back on and leave the line open so the police can hear what is happening at the scene. More information can be found on the Safety Services website, and I also highly recommend that everyone take the online active shooter training offered by the LMS system. Reporting unsafe conditions. So there's a form in the IIPP for reporting unsafe conditions. Work orders to facilities can also be turned in for building issues that are unsafe. For example, loose tiles, poor lighting, leaks, or other issues. You can also report the things you consider unsafe to your supervisor or department safety coordinator. Unsafe conditions or near misses can also be reported to safety services, and you can also report unsafe conditions to Cal OSHA. So let's talk a little bit more about unsafe conditions or near misses. These are important as well, as they can help prevent accidents from happening in the future. As stated earlier, any incidents or concerns may be reported to safety services or other resources. All faculty members, staff, students, and visitors at UC Davis can participate in making the campus a safe place to work, study, and live by identifying health and/or safety hazards or unsafe conditions by informing those responsible for the problem area. Employees are advised that the use of this form or other reports of unsafe conditions or practices are protected by law. It would be illegal for the employer to take any action against an employee in reprisal for exercising rights to participate in communications involving safety. So now let's talk about one of the more common hazards for non-lab staff, ergonomics. What is ergonomics? Ergonomics is the Greek term for laws of work. It is the science of adapting workstations, tools, equipment, and job techniques to be compatible with human anatomy and physiology in order to reduce the risk of musculoskeletal disorder injuries due to ergonomic stressors. In other words, we want to fit the job to the person, not the person to the job. This can be done with the use of various ergonomic equipment, such as workstations, chairs, pointing devices, and keyboards. Here are some examples of different ergonomic setups. Equipment such as adjustable desks, adjustable chairs and screens, and leg rests can help ease ergonomic stressors. Good posture is important while performing computer-based tasks. This diagram depicts proper ergonomically correct posture. Table height should be equivalent to elbow height. Wrist should be in a neutral position. Your head should be upright and over your shoulders. Eyes should be looking slightly downward without bending the neck. Backrest should support the natural curve of the lower back. Elbows should be bent at 90 degrees and shoulders should be relaxed. Thighs should be horizontal with a 90 to 110 degree angle at the hip. And feet should be flat on the floor or supported by a footrest. Since many people are working from home right now, ergonomics is extremely important. The UC Davis Ergonomics program has many helpful tips on ergonomics while working remotely. On the Safety Services website, you can find these tips for setting up home workstations and even take a training for performing an at-home ergonomic self-evaluation. I also have these links within the slides, so when you go to the slides later on, you can click on these links and it'll take you to the correct site. Here's a diagram of some ergonomic stretches. Remember to take frequent breaks, stretch, and move around a bit while doing computer-based tasks. So that concludes my presentation, a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. Thank you all for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns that you might have related to safety. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.